Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to LEGO Indiana Jones, the original series. Let's continue. There is one scenario, one paranoid scenario that wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But it might explain the lagging specifically on my video card and why it seems like a lot of people don't have the problem. On the GTX 970, there is this issue in which they kind of lied about it having 4 gigs of video RAM as the game locks up right now. It does have 4 gigabytes of RAM, but it actually only has 3.5 gigabytes of really fast RAM and then 512 megabytes of rather slow RAM. And there was a big lawsuit on it, and allegedly someday I'm supposed to receive a rebate check for $30 because of this dishonesty. This is interesting that there's a place to hold on to right there that encourages the player to be a place they really shouldn't be. But it would still be an issue of LEGO games in particular using the 512 megabytes of very slow RAM in some weird way that no other game has an issue with at all. Like Witcher 3, no issues. Any of the much more modern games, any of the much older games. I suppose there is another thought. It could have to do with frame rate going too high. But if that was the case, there's no, I can't limit my frame rate other than to have a vertical sync on. But if I could tell the game to be at a 30 frames per second locked, and that would be smooth, because of that, I would be more than happy. But that's not the cause here. So I'm trying to get this piece on the switches, and this is going to prove to be difficult. See, come over here. So we're given this extra level, which is the beginning of the level, which really should have been part of the last level. This is the scene where they decide, well, the father wants to go back to Berlin to get the go back and get his journal, and Indy wants to go to a different place to go get the map that they took out of the journal. And they argue about that. And the father says there's more important things than just the map in the book. And so they end up going to do a book burning thing to get the book back. But I guess before we do any of that, we're gonna have... Alright. That was unnecessary for the game to allow me to kill myself there. Particularly considering it's a kid's game. There's a little bit of mud here we can get stuck in. And a lot of things to crash into. See, this is where the LEGO part of this idea makes sense, the smashing. Now, it's very true that the way you play in LEGO games is not appropriate to actually play in. Oops. You have to hit this to jump over. You have to hit the B button to ramp over there. It's just not the appropriate way to play with Legos, because Legos are brittle plastic bits that would break and bend and warp, and smashing them all apart in the studs is not fun. Now there's certain similar building games that are designed to be broken apart, but most of them aren't at all. Yeah. And so you'd hate for a kid to break their Lego toys, which they almost certainly might anyways by throwing it against the wall without any prompting, but you'd hate for a kid to see a Lego game like this and say, well, I thought if I just punched all these Lego sets they would drop studs. I think that's part of some of the problem with Lego games, and just a long-running issue is they're not really depicting playing with Legos at all. And I suppose maybe that's what the Lego World game is trying to address, is to get away from having goals and having violence to break apart things and be a 100% creative thing, where this is really more of a violence added. It's still a kid's game for sure, but that they are adding cartoonish violence to Legos, where there really isn't cartoonish violence in Legos. Even when you're playing like Lego City sets where you are chasing after the policemen, I don't think the policemen are ever given guns. They're given handcuffs and megaphones instead, and the bad guys don't have guns either. There's a lot of mines going over here. And let's see, if you go in the mud without a vehicle, you're dead immediately. I'm just hitting all the mines. There was a game well, there have been a couple games that were about repainting a world and skinning it in different ways. I think Epic Mickey was kind of like that, where you were painting in black and white a world that had all the colors sucked out of it. And there have been some Nintendo games that are kind of like that too. Or Mario Sunshine, you're cleaning the world. And maybe they should have decided to do something like that in the Lego games, where you can, throughout the world you're trying to Legofy everything. That would cause the creators of a game like that to have duplicates of everything, or maybe just put everything in shadow. So say you had a plant like this but it was in shadow, and then you had to build out of Legos. There is a matter of scale there too. It's like those little plants are just single Lego pieces, so there's nothing you could really do to Legofy them. Maybe pay some kind of energy currency that you got through doing things. It would be extremely interesting to see a full reboot. Lego Dimensions isn't really a full reboot. You're still running around doing the exact same things. They do have some character swapping mechanics with the portal power, where you pick up a minifig and move it from one spot to the other, but beyond that, it's the same Lego games that 2T Games has always been making. So why did I need this hat? To open this, I suppose. This gimmick has been used 3 times in this level. It's pretty repetitive. It kind of clearly shows that they plan to have more and ran out of budget, ran out of time, something. because yeah, they just wouldn't have that much repetitiveness. There's a red container thing. Let's see, and I'm sitting on this key. So where does the key go? I'll put the key down and go get the shovel and see what's down here. This area is a little complicated because there's a lot of things here going on, so it's a level of uncertainty as to what you actually need to do and what you don't actually need to do. Here, the game is locked up again. Clearly it's in the physics engine. I'm surprised it took me that long to realize it was in the physics engine. I suppose I suspected, but I kind of wish I was a video game debugger, but it would 100% infuriate me to actually work that job, because as a debugger, your job is only to tell some person higher up that there are bugs in their game. What you don't have the authority to do is tell them to fix those bugs in their game. And they have this concept of known shippable bugs. And so they just mark it as KS. Let's see, well, what's the bazooka for? I don't need a bazooka, I need a wrench. I'll take the bazooka, I suppose, and I'll leave the way I came. But so it would very much irritate me to run into instances of broken games and say, here, this is a bug, this really needs to be fixed, and then have somebody higher up than me, which everybody would be higher up than you as a debugger or quality game tester, whatever they would call you, and then to say, yeah, we heard you, but we're not going to fix it. I would almost certainly quit on the spot right there, and there's no real job security in being a video game tester, unfortunately. Even the video game programmers often get fired right after the game is done being made, and that's not very nice or helpful for the industry. So I'm turning this, for what reason, I don't know. And we're getting an infinite number of bad guys showing up, which I don't like. And your companion, your co-op companion, doesn't actually... Oh, it dropped this box. Interesting. I still think I probably need a female to get up there. So this is a free play only thing. Over this way, there's nothing. Over this way, we've got a bunch of plants. I was thinking maybe there was something here in the plants, but seems like I just cleaned out that whole area and there's nothing to be found. See, that's just a gun. Surprising number of guns in this game. Well, I guess we just have to move forward. Because unless there's something at this well that changes something. No. And I can't go down the well. So we just cross this point and try to stand on a platform. It's a real bad system here. Like, real bad system. I suppose this could have been a full-on race, though. I kind of wish it was, though. That they had just decided to make a race. Now, and there's no backwards buttons on this. So we're just sitting here trying to get both things on the thing at the same time. And see, it feels like it should be a race. And I like the concept in general of being able to hop off a vehicle in the middle of a race for a kids game so they can play it any way they want. We certainly lose that ability in later LEGO games where there are clear sections that are only vehicle only and you can't get out of the vehicle. And a lot of those sections too, the second player is doing almost nothing. I'm just trying to figure out if maybe I have died a lot or if there's just more to this level. Oh, and by the way, none of this actually happened in the movie. Let's not forget that part too. Once they escape the castle on the back of the two-seater, let's see, if I stand here, will the other one fire at him? No. I don't think that's the plan. I think I need a bazooka gun. You don't see them until they've arrived at their destination. And maybe Steven Spielberg really did want more of this. What's interesting, though, is if you look at the way this game is made, and then the game The Dig, which is a point-click adventure game, kind of directed by Steven Spielberg much earlier in time than when this came out. The Dig is like Steven Spielberg's movies in the fact that it's scenes of conversation. You start at a press conference that goes on for about 5 minutes in the game as just the introduction to it. There's conversations happening all throughout. Come on, can you fire and blow that up? Jeez, that took a lot of work. Let's see, over here we blew up a sewer crate that put a bunch of flowers up on the ground. And it's also true that the Indiana Jones point-and-click adventure games from LucasArts have a lot more dialogue choices and conversations and puzzles, and honestly I think when you compare the Indiana Jones the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade point-and-click adventure game from LucasArts, which came out probably 10 years before this did, it's much more true to the story and plays a lot better. It does add a few things, most definitely, as the game's logging up. locking up again. Look how it made the skins just black. Let's see, it seems like it's still doing that. So the question almost becomes, what happened? What happened to LucasArts? And we kind of know they well, technically didn't go out of business. They kind of went out of business and stopped making their own games a long time ago, and instead it became alright to sell the license to WB. Now, I guess that's, in a long way, is just kind of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg selling out, and it got us the Indiana Jones Lego sets, which aren't available anymore, so that's kind of a loss now, since you're not really benefiting from that. But it also got us the mini Star Wars Lego sets, which are most definitely still available and still coming out, new ones every year. I'm thinking if I plant all of these, I would get something. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's kind of a shame that LucasArts games really didn't stick around and do some amazing things with modern technology. Their style of gameplay, though, has certainly lost a lot of appeal. They only very recently point-and-click adventure games only recently came back into favor with the with Telltale games, and they still heavily modified the concept down to just conversation. I suppose things like Mass Effect also are games that have a lot of conversation there, but there's so many multiple options, I'm not sure you could do something like Indiana Jones in a Mass Effect style and have it be open-ended. I think you probably would need to do something more like a just traditional action game, something like Uncharted, where the story doesn't really change, and instead you're just given goals. Go here, collect this item, kill this person, and have some nice action set pieces happen in between it. And something like Uncharted probably is the right way for an Indiana Jones video game to be made today. And there is certainly one Indiana Jones game that added to the story in Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and it's a shame that didn't continue, because the whole universe could have continuously could have been expanded even more and more, but it just didn't happen. How LucasArts would have gotten to Uncharted, I don't know. Probably never would have been able to. If anything, LucasArts became Double Fine, and Double Fine is still doing practically the same games, if not actually the exact same games that LucasArts was doing. And that's kind of the shame of the video game industry, is you need young blood to learn the new systems to make new games. Anyways, I won't go any further here since we're done with this level. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.